Gemara Be'ezrat Hashem on the bottom of Daf Samech Vav Amud Aleph. We're going to do today Samech Vav Amud, the very, very bottom. It says, Itmar, second line from the bottom. So very interesting case. This case starts off the whole Amud today. So Itmar, Hamachneset Shum Leba'ala. So we said, for just a recap, we said there's something called Nichsei Tzon Barzel. Nichsei Tzon Barzel means the lady, when she gets married, she brings it into the marriage. It's included in the Ketubah. And the husband accepts full responsibility. That if the item goes up in value, he gets the extra. If the item goes down in value, he takes the loss. He accepts responsibility to pay her whatever the value is at the time that they got married. Now, Itmar, hamachneset shum leba'ala. Let's say a lady brought in some nichsei tzon barzel. She evaluated it and put it in the ketubah. So he omeret kelayani notelet. So at the end, it's time to get divorced, and the man has to return, has to pay her whatever it says in the ketubah. Now, she brought in this jewelry, and she says, I brought in the jewelry. It was evaluated, $100,000. You owe me $100,000. I want to take my jewelry back. It's the same value. I want the item back. And he says, no, you put it in the ketubah, it's mine, I'll pay you the money for it. I'm going to give you the money, not the item. So they're having this machloket. So hadin immi, who's right? Whose claim do we accept? So Rav Yehuda Amar hadin imma. Rav Yehuda says that it's with her, meaning she gets to claim, she gets to say that I'm taking the item back. Rabbi Ami Amar hadin imo. Rabbi Ami says that no, we go with his claim, that he gets to say I'm giving you the money. Rabbi Yehuda Amar hadin ima. Why does Rabbi Yehuda say that we go after her claim? Mishum shevach beit avia didahave. Because since it came from her father's house, that we give her that upper hand. Rabbi Ami Amar Adin Imo Kevan Damar Mari Metu Lo Veim Otiru Lo Huil V'Chayav Ba'Achriyutan Yochlu. We said in our Mishnah that if she brings in Avadim into the marriage, and they're Avdei Tzon Barzel, which means that they're written in the Ketubah, evaluated at a certain value, and the husband takes responsibility to return that value. And when it comes to eating truma, if the husband is a kohen, they're allowed to eat truma. Whereas the nichsei milug, if let's say she's an almana who married a kohen gadol, or a grusha or a chalutza who married a kohen hedyot, if they're avadim that are not written in the ketubah, they belong to her, they don't eat truma. But if they're avadim that are written in the ketubah, evaluated, they belong to him, since he accepts the responsibility over them, they're his. So if that's the case, anything that's written in the ketubah and evaluated at a certain value, it should be his, and he should have the right to say, I'll give you the money for it. It's true, I accepted the value, I owe you the money, I pay you the money for it, but I don't have to give you back the item. So that's Rav Ami's understanding. So Amar Rav Safra, Miktani ve'en shelo, hoil v'chayav ba'achariyutan katani. U'olam lav dideninhu. So Rav Safra, he says, no, it's not true. Just because the husband accepts responsibility on the item doesn't mean that it's his. The reason he's allowed to feed truma to those avadim is not because they're his, it's because he's responsible for them. So the Gemara says, 1 second, is that true? What, anytime someone is responsible for something, he has the achrayut for something, they eat truma? So the Gemara says it's not true. Vatnan Israel shesachar para mekohen. Let's say you have a Jew who he rents a para, he rents an animal, a cow, from a kohen. So the cow really belongs to the kohen, but the Jew is now renting it, and the Jew is responsible for certain things. So hareze yachilenu karshine truma. He's allowed to feed a truma. The Yisrael is responsible. He's renting it. He's responsible. But he's allowed to feed a truma because the real owner is the kohen. And kohen shesachar para mi Yisrael. If you have other way around, Tze Kohen, he rents a para from a Yisrael. So afal pishem zonoteha alav, even though the Kohen is responsible to feed it, and the Kohen has certain responsibilities if the cow gets lost, or certain responsibilities the Kohen took upon himself, still lo yachilena karshine truma. He's not allowed to feed it, animal food of truma. So what do you see from here? It doesn't matter if the Kohen is responsible. If he's not the full owner, then he cannot feed it truma. So too, by our case of the Avdei Tzon Barzel, it's not because the Kohen is responsible for it, because even if he's responsible for it, that doesn't mean that he's allowed to feed it truma. It must be that the Kohen has some ownership over it. So the Gemara says, no, that's not true. V'tisbera nehinami dimchayev b'gneva v'aveda. When you have a Kohen who's renting a para from a Yisrael, so it's true. The Kohen is responsible for gneva v'aveda. If the animal gets stolen or if the animal gets lost, the renter is responsible. But be'onseh uvkachsha uvpachat dameha uvnifchat dameha mi mechayev, but he's not fully 100% responsible. When he rents the animal from a Yisrael, he's not responsible for ones. Some crazy thing happened that was out of anybody's control. There was a crazy storm that, and the cow got killed in the storm or something like that. Or bekachsha, if it lost value or became weak, or nifchat dameha, or it lost value, the market value of it went down. The renter, he's not obligated for those things. So it's true, he has some responsibility that if it gets lost or stolen, he has to pay for it. But he's not 100% responsible. So, mi mechayev, he's not chayav in those things. Halodamya ela lesefa. This case, our case of the Kohen owning avadim that his wife brings in the ketubah, it's more similar to the seifa, to the later case of that braita that we're quoting, the Yisrael shesham para mi Kohen lo yachilena karshine truma. The case is if you have a Yisrael who he evaluated a para for a Kohen, meaning the Kohen he's not renting the animal. They evaluate the animal. They say, okay, this animal is worth $50,000. Okay, I'm gonna take upon myself anything that happens. I'm gonna take responsibility. I'm gonna pay you the $50,000. If the animal goes down in value, I'm gonna cover it. If the animal, right, he takes upon himself that responsibility. So in that case, lo yachilena karshine truma. If the Yisrael is doing that and he's taking the animal from the Kohen, it's like it belongs to the Yisrael, and he's not allowed to feed it the truma. Aval Kohen shesham param Yisrael, or this is the case we really need, a Kohen that he took an animal from a Yisrael on those terms. He said, listen, I'm going to be fully responsible for everything. So yachilena karshine truma, he's allowed to feed a truma. So what do you see? If the Kohen is responsible for it fully, he's allowed to feed a truma. So either way, we still didn't fully solve. We asked a question on Rabbi Ami. We didn't fully solve the who the halacha is like. But we have this machloket that we're going to get back to. Rabbi Yehuda, if the lady says, I want to take my items back from the ketubah, right? But the husband says, no, we evaluated it, and it's worth this much. I take responsibility for the money. I want to give you the money. So who's right? Does she get to take let's say it's worth the same. Right? She brought in the item. It's worth exactly the same. Does she get to take the item back, or can the man say, no, I'll pay you the money, I'm keeping the item? So Yativ Rabba Rav Yosef Bishil Hepirke de Rav Nachman V'Viyat Viveka Amri. So Rabba and Rav Yosef, they're sitting after the shiur of Rav Nachman. They were talking about the following halacha, and they said like this: Tani Kavate de Rav Yehuda v'Tani Kavate de Rabbi Ami. They said, we found a braita that seems to be a proof to Rabbi Yehuda. We also found the braita that seems to be a proof to Rabbi Ami. What are they? So, Tanya Kavate de Rabbi Ami, Avdei Tzon Barzel, Yotzein B'Shein Ve'ayin Leish, Aval Lo Leisha. So, if you have avadim, if the owner knocks out, if the owner damages the Eved in a certain way, so the Eved goes free. Yeah. So now, and see, if you have Avdei Tzon Barzel, you have Avadim that a lady brought into the Ketubah, and they were evaluated, and the husband accepted upon himself the value of the Avadim. Let's say, so Yotzin B'Shen V'Ayin Le'ish. If the man causes certain type of damage to those Avadim, then they go free. Aval lo leisha, but if the woman does, they don't. So what do you see from here?
Aval lo leishot, that means
If the woman, no, it means if the woman, the wife, she caused the damage, she did the damage, they don't go free, because she's not the owner. The husband is the owner. So what do you see? This sounds like Rabbi Ami. This sounds like when you have something brought in the ketubah and evaluated, it's full property of the husband, and the husband can say, I'm not giving it back to you. The value I owe you. The money I'll pay you, but the item I'm not giving back to you. Sounds like from here, like that, like Rabbi Ami. But we have another braita that sounds like Rav Yehuda. Tanya kavatei de Rav Yehuda. Hamachneset shum lebaala. So let's say somebody brings something into the ketubah and they evaluate it. She brings in, some jewelry and it's evaluated. Let's keep it as metaltalin. Some jewelry, some furniture, clothes, whatever it is, and it's evaluated and put in the ketubah. So im ratzah habal limkor lo yimkor. If the husband wants to sell it, he's not allowed. He's not allowed to sell it. Even if the husband included some evaluated item in the ketubah, im ratzah habal limkor lo yimkor, he's not allowed to sell it because it's mishubat to her. So machru shnehem leparnasa, if either the husband or the wife sold that item, zehaya ma'aseh lifnei Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. This happened one time in front of Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, that there was something that was mishubad in the ketubah to the wife, that she brought in as it was evaluated, it was entered in the ketubah, and the husband sold it. So va'amar habal motzi miyad halekuchot, and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel said no, he wasn't allowed to sell it. It was not a good sale, and he actually he can take it back from the buyers, and he has to return their money, and the sale is not a good sale, and it belongs to the wife. So you see here that it's mishubat to the wife. That sounds very much like Rabbi Yehuda, that it's not full property of the husband, that he could do whatever he wants with it. It sounds like it's mishubat to the wife, that she has rights on that item. So Amar Rav Nachman halacha ke Rav Yehuda. So Rava said in the name of Rav Nachman that halacha is like Rav Yehuda, that she has the rights to the item. She can claim that she wants that item. Again, if it's worth the same value, at least. Amar le Rav Nachman v'atani kabtei de Rabbi Ami. He told Rav Nachman, what do you mean? We had a braita like Rabbi Ami. What are you going to do with that? So afal gav de tani kabtei de Rabbi Ami mistabra ta'amad Rav Yehuda misham shvach beit avi adida. So he says, even though we have a braita like Rabbi Ami, but it makes sense, the reasoning of Rav Yehuda. So he's saying halacha is like Rav Yehuda. So we'll try to do it until the Mishnah. It's not so much longer.
Yeah.
So at the end we're coming out halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda, that if they have this argument, the wife brought in, let's say, $50,000 piece of jewelry, it was written in the ketubah, and the husband, after a little while, the husband wants to give a get and pay her ketubah. She's saying, I want my jewelry back. It's worth the same $50,000. Don't pay me the money, give me the jewelry. The husband says, no, I'm keeping this, I want to pay the money. So halacha is like Rav Yehuda, that hadin ima, she has the rights on the item. Hahi itita da'ayle da'aylah le gavra istela de milata. So there was this lady who she brought a nice fancy coat into her wedding, into her marriage, and they included in the ketubah was an expensive coat. Biktuvata shachiv. So what happened? The husband was niftar. So when the husband passes away, the yitomim have to pay her the ketubah. So shaklu yatmi upirsu mitna. What happened? The yitomim took this coat and they used it for the mit. They used it to cover the mit. So now the problem is that you cannot have hana'ah. It's kind of like it becomes like hekdesh, something that's used for tachrichin, for the met, you can't get hana'ah from it anymore. It's like it was just like something that's hekdesh. Once it was
even before burial. Well, that's for burial.
I think it was for the purpose of the I think they put it for the purpose of the burial as tachrichin. Okay. So you can't have hana from it anymore. So this was an interesting case. She had rights to this thing because she brought it into Ketubah, and they used it on the met. Yeah. So Amar Rava Kanya Mitna. So Rava says the met was koneh, which means they have to pay her the value of it. She can't claim the item anymore because
the husband passed away. He koneh that piece.
That right, but they still have to pay her the value of it because it's written in the Ketubah. But she can't claim that article of clothing anymore because it was used for
get the money for it.
Right. So Amar le nane berei de Rav Yosef berei de Rava Rav Kahana. So he said to Rav Kahana, V'amar Rava Amar Rav Nachman halacha Rav Yehuda. He said, but we said halacha is like Rav Yehuda, that she has a claim on the item, so she should be able to get the item. How come over here she doesn't get the item? So Amar le milo moder Rav Yehuda dimchusar gubaina. It's true. Rabbi Yehuda says she has a claim on the item, but it's still not in her reshut until she collects it. So before she collects it, it's not in her reshut, and certain things can make it that she no longer has access to it. Since she never collected it yet, birshuteh kai, it's in his reshut, and therefore when it becomes there's one more aspect that we need here, that when it becomes used for the met, it's like hekdesh. The Rava leta'amen, Rava is following according to his own reasoning. Dama Rava hekdesh chametz v'shichrur mafki'in midei shibud. Okay, so this is an important line. These three things, they take away from the shibud. So imagine you have an item that's owed to somebody. It's mishubat to somebody. I have an item that I owe to you. So hekdesh, if it becomes hekdesh, then that takes away from the shibud. I don't owe you that item anymore. I have to pay you the value for it, but I don't owe you the item anymore. Or chametz. The case is that I borrowed money from a goy and I gave him my chametz as collateral, and that chametz, once it becomes chametz, the shibud is gone. And then shichrur is the same thing with an eved, that I was mishabed my eved to you, I owed my eved to you, and I freed the eved. So now, once it's free, I can't undo it. So I have to pay you the value for it. Right? Those things they remove the shibud. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Hichnisa lo shnei kelim be'elef zuz. So Rabbi Yehuda has the following case. Let's say she brings in 2 kelim worth 1,000 zuz. She has 2 pieces of jewelry that she brings in, and together it's worth 1,000 zuz. So 500 each. V'shavchu va'amdu al shnei alafim. And then, number of years later, when they're getting divorced, it's worth double. It's worth double, now it's 2,000 zuz. So she only gets the value of it. We said when it's written in the ketubah, right, the husband
goes to the husband.
Right, profit goes to the husband, exactly. So now the case is like this. Echad notalto biktuvata. Rabbi Yehuda says one of the items she takes for the value of the ketubah, because she's owed 1,000. Now these 2 items, they were 500 each, now they're 1,000 each. So she takes one of them for the payment of her ketubah. V'echad notenet damim v'notelet. And the other one, she has the right to buy it back. She could say, I'm paying you the $1,000 for the other one, and I'm taking it back. And the husband can't refuse. Why? Mibnei shevach beit avia. Because since it came from her father's house, she has the right to that. So my kamash malan shevach beit avia didahave ha'amar Rabbi Yehuda chadazimna. So the Gemara says, what is Rabbi Yehuda coming to teach us over here? He already told us that the wife has rights to these things. So the Gemara says, I would have thought that she only has a right to the items if they match the value of the ketubah. Aval mitan dameh mishkal, but if they went up in value and it really now should belong to the husband, I might think that she doesn't have a right to say, listen, I'm going to give you the money and take it. Right? Maybe I would think she doesn't have the right. I would think that she cannot do that. Kamash malan. Therefore, he comes to teach us that yes, even that she could do. So that's what's going to come out, the halacha according to Rabbi Yehuda, that when a woman brings in something in her ketubah, she has the right to, it's evaluated. If it goes up in value, the husband earns the profit of it. If it goes down in value, the husband loses. But she has the right to take that item, and if there's any difference in value, she has to cover it. So if the item went up in value and she wants that item back, she can force the husband to take money and she'll get the item back. Or if it went down in value, that would be a different story. I'm sure I didn't really look into it. I'm sure the Rishonim Achronim talk about it. But okay, so that is the Amud for today.
Should we go downstairs, yeah?